exploring the career experiences.
Exploring, okay, for sure, qualitative. Exploring.
Of professors at a UK university.
Professors, exploring the career experiences, right?
Yes.
The career experiences of professors, and that is the context, that is the research context. So you try your very best to make sure that by reading the title, the examiner can anticipate, oh, this is the coverage of this work. Okay, alright, insyaAllah. Okay, coming back to apa tadi? Okay, research gap.
Practice gap.
So you have practice gap, research gap.
Practice gap.
Theoretical gap.
What's that?
Okay, research gap is there are a lot of studies.
Practice gap.
Practice gap is what can the study provide to improve what practice. So if you see that before this there not much academicians need some information on how to develop their career. But all this while, if you look at most universities, when we talk about promotion, academic promotion, we just list the indicators. You have to write certain number of papers. You have to teach certain number of courses. But how do you move up to that point? The process, not much has been, research on the process of how people move towards the different career stages. So that is the practice gap. The research gap that I mentioned to you just now. Many research were concerned more on how new academicians adjust. Not many are done at looking at how the whole process proceed. So I hope that research gap is justified. When I explain that I research on the old academician rather than the new academician. Okay, alright. Now, yes sir.
Before we go to
Right.
Actually, I try to understand the practice gap.
Right.
So in that case, whether we need to support with our statistics or any.
Yes. It should not be seen as something that just come up from the sky,
Yeah, right.
You have to have macam statistics or figures to show that there's something lacking in terms of that practice. And you need to study so that with the findings you can help to improve that practice. Like the one that I mentioned to you just now. So that if you read my thesis, I start with a true story of how universities have their own center for academic development. We are supposed to focus on the career development of academicians. But there are some literature stated that the knowledge or the process of developing one's career is not clear. Because what can the university do? Basically, it's just to come up with indicators. The targets, 20 papers, 3 courses, you have to graduate 5 students. But how do you do that so that you can graduate 5 students? How do you do so that you can write minimum 20 papers? How do you develop yourself so that you can teach 5 courses effectively, efficiently? So this is the one that I'm trying to research, the process. I'm not looking at the outcome per se, but also the process. Okay. So coming back to practice gap, research gap. Simultaneously within the research gap, another one that we are looking at, most importantly, is the theoretical gap. Okay, when you do your research, review of literature, and when you have identified the research gap, you will eventually find one theory or one model that you feel is closely associated to your work. Okay, but if you can achieve this will be bonus lah. Okay, even though it sounds ideal, but if you can do this, it's a bonus. Not to say criticize, but you feel like the model can be improved further with your study. Okay, so in my PhD thesis, so I closely associate my thesis to this community of practice model. Okay, alright. So in community of practice, they talk a lot about how a novice move from being a novice to an expert. But actually, who is novice and who is an expert? So I argue that actually it's not a one-way kind of movement. it should always be a two-way, because depending on, for example, like in the university, if you talk about the old school, the old ties, of course they have the wisdom, but in terms of infusing technology and whatnot, they are the novice. The expert might be the young ones. So actually you are exchanging, the roles as novice and experts. So it's not just about, okay, if you just join the university, you are novice. Expert are basically professors. Some professors they are not expert of everything. So I question that with regards to the model, the novice and expert are not a one-way ticket or one-way direction. It depends on which practice that you are referring to. So hopefully lah it's justified lah, because alhamdulillah lah examiner pass exam tu kan. So okay lah. I hope they buy my argument lah. So that's how you try to find, not to try to find fault in the model, but what can you adapt further to the current model. For example, let's say you find one model, but you feel that the model is too generic. You have to infuse some cultural aspect into it. So you carry out your study, you realize that not everything that you found in the US can be applicable to Malaysia due to cultural. So the model cannot be seen as a one-size-fits-all. It also has to consider some cultural or values element in it. You argue, it depends on the examiners to accept. Okay, so at least that would be a bonus to show how critical you are.